guys, welcome back to the channel. It's getting pretty exciting actually on the Porsche build right now. I had the 4 days off work a week or so ago, and actually this weekend is a long weekend because the Monday's a national holiday as well. So, and this being Friday afternoon, I will hope to get quite a bit of time on the 911. So I'm going to start with getting this subframe in place, putting the shocks on, and then start putting the rear suspension back together. But before I do that, I'm going to change my clothes. Okay guys, so I didn't actually film that, but I've got the rear shocks on. I have not put this rear subframe on the right hand side as yet because when I was torquing down these studs, they were doing some funny things. You know, when you think you can feel a thread being threaded, you know, stripped, I sort of stopped because I was a bit worried about it, and actually when I took the studs out there was like swarf, like metal within the thread within the car in there, which I wasn't too pleased about. And then looking at this, you can see slightly here this thread is a bit knackered, so I obviously now need to wait until I can get hold of a threading tool. I cannot remember the English name for it, so I can do the bolt, I can do the stud and the hole, and that's on one side. That side I've torqued down. The studs to the chassis are 46 Newton meters. The nuts to the subframe are 110 Newton meters. But that's what it's looking like from this side. Pretty nifty. Okay guys, I haven't done much videoing at all of putting this back together, but I will detail it on the other side. Yeah, I've got that back together with the new dog bones here, and all of the plated bolts, eccentric bolts and so on. And I cleaned up the hub as well. It took me absolutely hours to do that. Literally, I don't know, maybe 2 hours I spent cleaning that up. But it looks good. It's not really clean, but it's quite good. The only concern I have is this. It's like a scraping rather than anything else, and I don't know if that's a sign of a bad bearing. There's no wobble in it. I don't know if there's a bit of dirt in there, but I suppose you cure it with a new bearing. But I don't know, what are your thoughts? But it's looking pretty damn cool. Let's just get in there a little bit. It looks so cool. I love it. Okay, packing up for this evening. It's about 8 o'clock. Time flies when you're having fun, and I'm going home. Cheerio. Hey, morning guys, back up at the garage this morning. It's about 8 o'clock-ish. I am having to leave that job at the back there because of these pegs here. I've got to cut the threads on the pegs, or the studs I should say, and also in the thread in here as well on 2 of them, because they're just not going in well. And looking into the threads, they've got some swarf in there, so I'll wait until I've got the proper cutting tool for that. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is crack on with the front. So rather annoyingly, what I've got to do is little tabs which hold on the water lines. For some reason, when I was doing the painting and everything, I didn't redo these, so you can see them. They're slightly got some slight surface rust there, so I'm going to have to do these 2, definitely these 2, and then paint all of them. So better get on with that then. Okay, so got all those tabs cleaned up, and I put some etched primer on, and then the top coat. And also I went round to other parts that I found on the car a bit underneath, where I'd sort of smoothed down the stone chip and hadn't painted it, so and a bit under the rear wheel arch, so you know, just tidying it up with the last bits of paint that I've got. Okay, so I've just started on the fuel tank. I've already cleaned this up probably about a year ago, but I never really took a look inside. So what I've done is I've taken out the pump, or the sender, and it's very easy really. There's a connector there, and there's some push fittings for the fuel lines, which makes it very easy to come out. And I'm just going to have a look in here because there's no fuel filter on the 996.2. Everything after 2001 didn't really have a fuel filter outside of the tank, but I don't know if there's one in here, so I'm going to have a look to see if there's anything I can clean. Maybe I can clean out the tank as well, just while I've got it all apart. Okay, so that was pretty simple actually. All it takes is a careful left-hand turn, so anti-clockwise turn, a quarter turn to loosen off that fuel pump, and I'm just going to feed it out now. Okay, so that was all pretty simple, and I can see, yep, so there's fuel in there, which they did warn me. Just a whole dribble of fuel just came out. And underneath here you can see a gauze, which is the filter, and I'm going to look at cleaning that. Okay, so just a quick look into the fuel tank. I just cleaned it out with a white rag, and you can see there's just a lot of varnishy fuel in there, which you'd expect really, because there's just sort of dregs at the bottom, and it's been there for a year and a half. So, but otherwise, it's looking very clean in there. So I'm just going to basically leave it like that. I did a bit of a clean around here, and I think put everything back together, because I can mess about taking this fuel pump apart, but I don't think there's any point. I cleaned this gauze underneath here, but really that isn't the gauze where the fuel goes through. It goes in through here, so I'm presuming there's a secondary filter within that housing somewhere, but I'm just not going to mess about with it. I mean, I guess the logical thing, the clever thing to do while the fuel tank is out is to replace the pump, but it still works, and you know, where do you start, where do you stop, sort of thing. So I'm going to leave that one in there. Okay, so just a word of warning with this. The locking mechanism can be attached like 180 degrees around the wrong way, if you see what I mean, like a jam jar top, if you like. So I'd screwed it in with this mechanism around that way, sort of like, you know, the mirror image, and obviously the fuel sender didn't fit very well. So luckily I'd videoed it before I took it all apart, and this is the orientation. So if you're going down like that, that is the orientation. Okay, that's finally got that back together. Putting the seal back in is a bit of a pain in the arse, because you're supposed to put the seal into the tank and then the sender unit into the seal, but with me it kept on pushing the seal down into the tank, so I faffed about for a bit and it ended up working. The torque settings for this are, just a minute, going back to my Bible. Fuel sending unit to the fuel tank, 70 Newton meters. It's quite a lot, 52 foot-pounds. So I've got no real way of judging that, other than looking at my old photographs to seeing that this seal, this wax seal, is at about 6 o'clock-ish, just beyond, between 5 and 6 o'clock. And I used an oil filter tool to tighten it up, which worked perfectly. So that tank is pretty much done, and I'm going to put it back on the shelf, and hopefully I'll be able to put it into the car very soon. But now, my friend's just called me, and he's got the tool, the thread cutting tool, so I'm going to go over and pick that up now. It's going to take about an hour, and that means I can carry on with that subframe. So, see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm back, and this is what I've picked up. And this thread here is M12 by 1.5. So I'm going to cut this. Oh, I've got the wrong side. It's the same size both sides. I'm going to cut this, or recut it, and do the chassis as well. Been quite a lot of faffing about today in terms of trying to get tools and stuff, but now I've got them, I'm going to move on to this side, and I'm going to do basically a time lapse of me just putting this side together. Hope you enjoy it. That's the studs in. Really important note that you should retap the threads on the studs and the chassis before you do this, because I should have done it to both sides really. That went in slightly easier, but the amount of crap that came out of there when I was tapping those threads was quite surprising. So I guess through putting the stone chip on and all the work that I've done on it, stuff's got up there, and it's well worth doing, because once they're tapped properly, they go in so much easier, and there's no messing about. You know exactly when they've reached their limit and then when to torque them. It's a must, and both ends obviously as well. I'm just wondering whether I should put this cross member in when I tighten them up, just to make sure it fits. There's quite a lot of play there. I think I will do that. So 110 Newton meters. Double check. Yep. Okay, that is the driver's side, right-hand side subframe on and torqued up. Excellent. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the car down because I'm going to torque up the 3 nuts on the top of this strut. They're an M10 nut, and the setting is 46 Newton meters. Okay, so it might not be entirely obvious what I'm doing here, but what I'm doing is I'm fitting the shocks to the inside of the car. So there are 3 nuts on the top of each shock, and I'm just fitting those and torquing them up. You actually need a special tool or a socket to tighten them up and to torque them, but I haven't actually got that. So this is a little bit strange. So I disconnected the shock from the wheel hub because it was sort of pushed over a bit, and I hadn't torqued up the nuts on the inside. So I've torqued them up, and you can see it's just, without pushing it over, it's completely off. Yeah, I don't know if it's normal just to pull the shock over. Maybe it just goes like that because it's on the swivel at the top or something. I don't know. Or am I bending something if I'm doing that? It's really strange. It seems very weird. I don't know. Okay, so I'm really in 2 minds now about doing all of the wheel bearings. It's a big job, but with this one making that strange noise, and it's not just dirt that's going away, it's still there. It doesn't feel like it's bearings like clattering or anything. It's just slight grinding, but obviously not good. It feels really tight, but I'm just thinking, while I've got it this far, maybe I should bite the bullet and do all of the wheel bearings. I've done one obviously on the front hub, but just to do all of them, then I've got my peace and quiet, obviously, for another 100,000 miles. Or, it's so difficult. Because what's going to happen is, just like the front one, I mean, maybe I can get them out better, but obviously I've got to pull them all apart and get these bolts out. And they all 4 of them snapped on the front hub, and that led to a bit of a disaster, re-drilling and so on. So I really don't want that, but what can you do? I'm going to have a think about it for a little bit. So, new mailer dog bones. And newly plated bolts. And that's pretty much as far as I can take it. if I'm going to redo the wheel bearings. I'm still going to think about that. Okay, so I've got the hubs on there now. Suspension is on. It's all just finger tight on. Because, as I said, I'm still umming and ahhing about whether we're doing those wheel bearings. It's probably annoying you all because you're all like going, yeah, just do them, you prat. And I probably will end up doing them. Yeah, so that's quite good progress. And I think probably now I'm going to move on to the front. Okay, so I've just threaded the front water pipes through there. Going onto there, up here, and then there's the bottom ones over there. I'll just do some videoing as I go through, because time lapse of this, I don't know, maybe it's a bit boring. But I'm just going to go and find the brackets that go here. I'm going to put some grease on these little tabs here because they really catch the weather actually. And then this is I don't know what this is, maybe the return water line? I don't know. Okay, so yeah, that's that side done. These little clips go the opposite way around to that, so they sort of go inwards. I noticed that one of these on the other side was broken, so I've got to get another one of them. That little plastic clip, that is. And what else? Yeah. Fix those up there, top and bottom, and I'll move on to the other side. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert on the clips that hold the flexible water hoses onto the solid ones there. You might have seen from some of the close-up footage there that they were all pretty manky and rusty. Some of them I'd had cleaned up and plated, but they're all used and they're all actually no good. So what I do later on is decide to replace those all with brand new stainless steel Jubilee clips. Okay guys, the horn is officially attached. Looking good and plugged in. So the first part that I've reattached to the car, which has now been plugged in. Okay, so I've just been going through my bags of stuff, marked up stuff, and putting small things back in like this. I've obviously just done the horn, things like that. All the rubber bungs. Obviously I've got a couple missing there. Got to get those in too. These little zip tie things. And now I'm pretty much at the point where I am going to, I think, fit the front radiator and condenser on the right hand side. So that's really exciting because I've got new radiators and condensers. I've also got new resistors for the fan. I actually made my own here. I never videoed that actually. I mean, I videoed it, but never broadcast it. But you can actually make your own resistors really cheaply. The replacements from Porsche are £100. Oh, that was a year or so ago now, at least. Maybe they're more. But you can make them yourself with cheap resistors from the internet, and they work well. So that's what I did, but it just doesn't look that cool. So I have already bought the new Porsche one. So anyway, I'm going to start dismantling this and put the new parts on. So what I'm doing here is detaching the fan mechanism from the radiator, and actually when I take it apart I realise that the radiators aren't damaged in any way. They're not leaking. They weren't leaking when I was driving the car, so actually I will keep hold of those for a rainy day, or if anybody needs them let me know. But yeah, but I've got new ones already. I think you might have seen that from a previous video, but here I'm just cleaning up the fans and making sure they work properly, getting all the grime out, and now I can reconnect the new resistors. So this is actually quite exciting because I'm now starting to need bits which I bought ages ago, like a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and they've just been sitting in these shelves ever since. So yeah, I'm going to have to get stuck in there and find the parts I need. I think the condensers are in there. But I've also got to find the resistors too, which are very small. And I know they were in a box of bits that I got from Design 911 in the UK at some point, but it's just a matter of having a look through. So here goes. I think these are brake lines actually. I also need to see. Oh no. Oh cool. Haha. That's the rear engine mount. Okay, fine. Well, that's good to know. I was wondering where that was actually. I've got to clean that up as well. That's pretty nasty. Right. So it's worth remembering that some of these parts have been in these shelves for a couple of years, so I'm not joking when I'm really looking to see what's inside the boxes. Okay, so I found what I was looking for quite quickly, and this is them. So 2 resistors for the fans. So let's have a look. Look at they, nice. So, okay. So I guess I need to take this cover off, which looks incredibly straightforward, he says. Probably break it. So by the looks of it, it's a matter of swapping these out for those. It's interesting that they've got different colours though. It's a bit crap. Maybe it's for a different side. Here they have the same colouring, but here they don't. So I'll have to work that out obviously. But that's obviously how they go. Cool. Okay, so that is now done. There is my new resistor, and all tidily put away there. And now all I've got to do is do it all over again. So this is one of the water coolers. Marla. Very nice. I think actually I'll just do it on top of here. I've got some of the clips as well. I'm sure I bought them. Let's just slide this on. There we are, very nice. What I might do is just put a little bit of grease there. There we go. Now let me go and see if I can find those clips. So I just had a search back through the shelves there, and I'm not going mad after all. I do have the replacement clips for there, so that's fantastic. Can I open those now and put those on? Should be 4 in here hopefully. Yeah, perfecto. Very nice, look at that. Oh, did I? I don't even remember from the video though, this one had a bit of the old clip still in it, and I think yep, lovely, there we go. So that is one perfectly finished water cooler with new clips and a new resistor. Okay, so I was just digging about for the diagonal stays for the water coolers, and obviously found them both, but they were quite corroded actually, and I can't really tell. I think they're aluminium, but it can't be aluminium if it's rusting, so it must be steel, very light steel, I don't know. But I've rubbed them down, and I've already got that one painted up with etch primer. I'm going to paint this one now. Okay guys, so I am packing up for the day now. I'm going to head home, but I'll probably be up tomorrow and carry on. I've got those two support bars there drying. I just put the second coat of undercoat on there, etch primer, and then I'll put some black on there tomorrow. And then we'll see how we get on. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.